David Lanz, welcome to the SNIS studio. You are here because your article is one of the winners of the SNIS International Geneva Award 2021, which is given to articles which are excellent and relevant to multilateral policy. Well, excellent it is because upon closer reading, you start by talking about an economic logic and you conclude the article talking about music. So tell us, how do these two things fit in an analysis on mediation practices?
Yes, thank you so much for this recognition. So the article looks at a common phenomenon in peace processes in Africa and beyond, which is that there are multiple third parties and mediators that try to make peace. And sometimes these third parties, they are in competition with each other. That's what the article starts with. That's the economic logic. And the question then is, well, how can a multiplicity of mediators be managed? And the article points to basically two models of managing multiple mediators. One is hierarchical coordination, where there is one lead mediator that commands respect and authority that makes other third parties defer to him or her. And that's the role of a conductor of an orchestra, therefore, that the lead mediator plays, telling, like the conductor tells musicians when to play, how strong they should play, how fast they should play. And then there is a second model for managing the multiplicity of mediator, which is called collaborative cooperation. And there you don't have a hierarchy, you have several actors, and these actors, they work together based on a unity of purpose. And the image there is that of a jazz ensemble with musicians that play autonomously, but together producing some nice music. So that's what the article ends with.
And you have a couple of case studies which illustrate each of these cases. Can you give us some details about each of them?
Yes. So I look at 4 cases of high-level international mediation in Africa in the past 20 years. And so it's Sudan, Madagascar, Kenya, and South Sudan. And in all of these cases, you have instances of harmful competition between third parties and between mediators, but you also have instances of cooperation, basically where the multiplicity of third parties was turned into an asset, making the conclusion of a political settlement more likely. And perhaps to give you 2 examples, one is from Kenya, where in the beginning of the mediation process, so this was an attempt to curb the escalation of violence following a contested election in 2007. In the beginning of the process, there were many envoys who descended on Nairobi trying to make peace, and it was quite messy and inconclusive. And then Kofi Annan was brought in just a few weeks after he stepped down as UN Secretary General, still commanding a lot of respect and authority on the continent and beyond. And he became the conductor of the orchestra. He became the mediator to whom others deferred, and he was able to involve other third parties in a productive way while staying in the lead. And as a result of his efforts, the negotiations between the conflict parties succeeded and produced a settlement, which was very imperfect, but nonetheless a settlement within 5 weeks.
And the jazz ensemble, where does it come?
The jazz ensemble, you could take Sudan as an example of this. So attempts to bring the civil war in Sudan, an extremely bloody, long-standing civil war, to an end. And after 9/11, there was a concerted push from the US as well as from regional powers who are brought together within a regional organization called IGAD, a concerted push to end the civil war in Sudan. And there wasn't a hierarchy between these actors, but they all played a certain role. The US brought leverage to bear, the sticks and carrots, and IGAD, the regional organization, they managed the process. They mediated the negotiations between the Sudanese government and then the main rebel movement, the SPLM. And these efforts, again, imperfect, but they did produce a comprehensive peace agreement signed in 2005.
How do you hope your article could inform future processes of mediation? Maybe who should read it?
So my findings about competition and cooperation among mediators, I do hope they contribute to a greater awareness of the problem that competition can pose in a process. And I also hope it contributes to a realization that specific things need to be done, specific mechanisms need to be devised to manage the multiplicity of mediators in a productive way. And in that vein, there are sort of three specific things that the article touches on that I think mediation organizations should pay attention to. First of all, they need to nominate the right person to lead a mediation effort. Somebody who's experienced, somebody who commands authority, but also somebody who is willing and able to cooperate with others. So the selection of the envoy is very important. Then a second thing is when it comes to the mandate or the terms of reference given to a mediator to guide his or her actions, I think it's important to mention cooperation with other third parties as a key component of a mediator's mandate. And in that way contribute to cooperation in specific cases of mediation, but also in a way entrench a norm of good peacemaking, which entails being a team player and working with others and manage the multiplicity of mediators in a productive way. And then third, I think mediation organizations that often have overlapping jurisdictions, which means that for a given region, you may see the same mediation organizations trying to make peace. For example, the UN and the African Union, or the African Union and various sub-regional organizations in Africa. These organizations, they should set up standing cooperation mechanisms that make it so they understand each other's functioning, and that make it so that there is an established channel of communication at the strategic level, but also at the working level. And these things, there are no silver bullets, but they can make a small contribution to foster productive cooperation among mediators.
David Lanz, congratulations and thank you again for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.